It's March 20th, 1994. It's Madison Square Garden. 18,065 fans for the sellout. It's the 10th annual WrestleMania. It's WWF WrestleMania X. Roman numerals for 10. This event had Vince McMahon and Jerry the King Lawler doing commentary for the first time together at WrestleMania, while Gorilla Monsoon showed replays of the first 9 WrestleManias throughout the event. Leilani Kai competed in the women's match at WrestleMania X, her first since she competed in the WrestleMania 1 in the same building against Wendy Richter 10 years before it. Both WWF Championship matches at this event featured guest referees, Mr. Perfect in the first bout and Roddy Piper for the second. As we all know, Bret Hart and Lex Luger eliminated each other from the same time in the Rumble, so they both get matches of Yokozuna. They had flipped a coin. President Jack Tunney and Lex Luger lost, so he had to face the first match, and Bret Hart would get the fatigued winner of the the first match in the second match. A 10-man tag team match was supposed to take place, but it was canceled due to time restraints. The rumor has it that Savage was backstage, and he was like a backstage. Savage was more of like a Undertaker role. He was like the leader of the locker room back then when there was all the youngsters in the new generation. Apparently Shawn and Razor came back from their classic match and Savage yelled at them for taking too long. I mean, put on a classic, but at the same time these other 10 guys didn't get to wrestle because of those two. Apparently it wasn't just those two. It should have been the whole event that took it off. Nonetheless, 1-2-3 Kid, Bob Holly, Jeff Jarrett, Rick Martel, IRS, the Head Shrinkers, all of them didn't get on, and the Smoking Guns, and Tatanka, all didn't get on the show because of it. Burt Reynolds did some ring announcing. The guest timekeeper was Jenny Garth. Donnie Wahlberg was there. Rhonda Shear. Little Richard sang America the Beautiful. WrestleMania 10 or WrestleMania X is the first time Hulk Hogan didn't show up at WrestleMania. The Heavenly Bodies faced the Bushwhackers before the show, and that was the same match they had at WrestleMania 8 before the show started. Or no, that was the Beverly Brothers. This is the Heavenly Bodies faced the Bushwhackers. They both fought the Bushwhackers, so it was hard. Alright, let's get to the WrestleMania review, but before I do, I just want to remind everybody that I'm Macho Wrestling 101. I'm Brett Mix. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We dish reviews every day. If you like wrestling content, you're going to love this, so please do. It'll help me out a lot. It's a brand new channel. Alright, what better way to pick off this night than start with the best wrestling match of the 1990s, perhaps. It's the Rocket, Owen Hart against Bret the Hitman Hart. Long storyline to get into it. Too long. That's why they play a good video package before the match. Let's just say this was highly anticipated. It started WrestleMania due to the WrestleMania main events later, or else this would have had a higher spot on the card. So this is arguably the best opening match in wrestling history of any event. I like Jushin Thunder Liger versus Brian Pillman as much as the next buddy from Super Brawl 92, but this is just a little bit better than that. Just a little bit. No, a lot, but not as much as a star or anything. What we got here is the classic heel little brother jealous of his older brother. Owen wasn't over yet, but this match would change things. Hold for hold, toe for toe, flip for flip, slam for slam, Irish whip for Irish whip, every duck, everything meant something in this match. Owen tried to one-up Bret with every single maneuver that Bret came back with. Owen would do a counter wrestling, then he'd complain to the ref about a hair pull. Jerry Lawler on commentary was hilarious, talking about Stu and Helen and needing glasses to see the match, and how Owen was always hated on like the black sheep of the family. The Hitman outdid Owen, and then he gave himself a fist pump. Bret then did a suicide dive to Owen, and McMahon goes, "What a matchup this is!" And Owen pushed Bret back to the rope, stuck the leapfrog, followed by a signature spinning heel kick. Bret hit the insecurity on Owen, and that shocked him as they're using each other's moves and trash talking while they do it. Owen then gets in the offense, a reverse chin lock from Owen to Bret. This is smart because it stretched the lower back of Bret, which was worked over by Owen. Owen then went for a sharpshooter to pressure the back more, but Bret threw him out, and then Owen hit a belly-to-belly suplex, slamming Bret's back to the mat some more. So good strategic wrestling by the Rocket. The chain wrestling was the best here because instead of rest holds, they just went for chain wrestling rest holds. What I mean by that is they tied up, they locked up, then they went for an armbar into a wrist lock, standing switch into a waist lock, then a side headlock takedown, then a lateral press, then into a backslide, so on. There's variations of chain wrestling, but that was just a couple of examples of what they did. Bret picked Owen up, hit an atomic drop and a running clothesline, followed by a 2 count. Bret with a side suplex to Owen as he's getting back in the match. Bret argued with Hebner as he thought the count was a 3 when he tried to pin him. Owen then tripped him up and tried the sharpshooter, and Bret reversed it. Bret elevated himself over the top rope onto Owen for the floor. Bret hurt his knee in the process, playing up the leg storyline where Owen kicked Bret's leg out of his leg at the Royal Rumble. Fans in MSG chanted, "Let's go, Bret," except for that one fan when the bell rang and he went, "Let's go, Owen," and Bret gives him a dirty look. I thought that was funny. Bret, out of desperation with his good leg, kicked Owen in the head with a spinning heel kick out of nowhere, looking for the Rocket's plague bug again. Owen hit sternum first into the corner when Bret Irish whipped him out of desperation. Owen kicked out of 2 after Bret went for the pinning attempt with unbelievable passion and pacing. Words don't do it justice. The match is just that much better. Bret scooped up Owen with a sore leg and went to the top rope, but stalled due to the sore leg with great selling. And then he still was able to hit a superplex to Owen off the very top rope. On another near kickout, another near fall with a kickout. Owen locked on the sharpshooter, and all of a sudden Bret got to the ropes, and Owen couldn't believe it. Bret limped some more, selling the injury, and landed a fist to Owen, but Owen sent Bret to the buckle. Bret got the leg up on Owen in the corner with a boot to the face. However, Owen stood in front of Bret as he went for a sunset flip, but Owen held the weight down on a surprise. And in the end, at 20 minutes, 21 seconds, Owen pinned his brother in the corner, and then Bret kicked out at the 3, and Owen couldn't believe it with some phlegm by his face. Owen was in shock, and the King goes, "What do you think of that, big man? What about it now?" I can't do the King. I used to be able to when I was a kid, but then all of a sudden I got a deeper voice. Owen was over so much more now. Bret couldn't believe he got beat by his own ignorant brother. These guys wrestled the perfect match here. It was really great. As Jim Ross says in The Dark Side of the Ring, you can go back and watch some matches. This is definitely one of them. 5-star rating for my book. One of the best openers ever. Alright. How do you follow that? Well, we follow it with a Bam Bam and Luna versus Doink and Dink. Not the best match. It's not the first mixed wrestling match at WrestleMania either. Queen Sherry teamed with the Macho King to take on Sapphire and American Dream Dusty Rhodes at WrestleMania 6, and that didn't go well. This was actually a little bit better than that match, if you can believe that, but not very much. I'll give it 2 stars. Probably being a little generous, but in the end, Bam Bam Bigelow and Luna defeated Doink and Dink when Bam Bam hit his 3rd consecutive headbutt from the top. Not bad, but not good. Somewhere in the middle. 3, we have a Falls Count Anywhere match with Randy Savage and Crush. This was the Macho Man's last WrestleMania, and he does a nice handshake to Vince, as those guys were just great friends at the time. Macho Man was an ambassador for the WWF. He brought the Slim Jim deal in. He was a larger-than-life name. Everyone else was going to WCW, but he stayed. So McMahon and Savage were the best of friends, pretty much, before he left. These two guys, they pinned each other in the entranceway, and then they had a minute to get back in the ring. It was a unique Falls Count Anywhere match. Crush, whoever pinned who would get back in the ring before the count of the minute. They kept brawling to the outside. Macho Man then tied Crush up, hung him upside down, which MSG laughed at and cheered. In the end, Crush could not get to the ring to answer the 10 count after being tied up by Savage. Macho Man then in all his glory celebrated one last time for WrestleMania. He was Mr. WrestleMania at that point. WrestleMania 2, he beat George Steele. WrestleMania 3, Ricky the Steamboat, 5 stars. WrestleMania 4, he won 4 matches to become the champion at a tournament. WrestleMania 5, he had the championship for a year and main evented versus Hogan. WrestleMania 6, that tag match against Dusty Rhodes, which was blah. WrestleMania 7, the retirement match with Ultimate Warrior. WrestleMania 8, winning the WWF title against Ric Flair. WrestleMania 9, the host of ceremonies. Now WrestleMania 10, beating Crush in the Falls Count Anywhere match. So that's from 1 to 10. Only Hulk Hogan could argue that he had a better resume, but Savage had better in-ring matches, so there's no doubt from 1 to 10 Macho Man was Mr. WrestleMania, and I don't just say that as a biased Savage mark. Anyway, it's his last match there, and I rate the Falls Count Anywhere match 3 stars. Alundra Blaze defended against Alani Kai. Let's see if Alani Kai can do better than she did 10 years ago in this building when she faced Wendy Richter at the first WrestleMania. She was the challenger, but Blaze off the top rope with a waist lock into a suplex with a bridge, gets the pin at 320. She retains the title. This was alright, but the crowd was dead, so I gave it a 1.5 stars. Next, Men on a Mission versus the Quebecers. Not very appealing on paper, and they gave this match a little bit too much time. It was at 7:41 that Men on a Mission won by countout, but not the titles. The Quebecers retained the titles, but this match just felt way too long. I give it a 1.75 stars. It dragged and it was slow. Wasn't by any means terrible, but it just dragged and it was slow. Next, we have the first of 2 title matches. Yokozuna with Mr. Fuji and Cornette versus Lex Luger for the WWF title with the special referee, Mr. Perfect. Perfect was a face going into this match, and he was a heel when he came out. The first half of this match was actually pretty good. The second half dragged. No one in the MSG really cared about Luger's comeback when he tried to Hulk up doing his version. Luger finally gets Yoko up somehow and drops him. The McMahon tries to put it over like it's the biggest thing since Hogan slamming Andre. Luger covers Yokozuna, but Perfect doesn't count and decides to leave. In the end, at 14:40, Yokozuna won by DQ, and Mr. Perfect screwed over Lex Luger by paying attention to the managers and not the pinfall. Mr. Perfect dealt with Luger to the back and grabbed a hold of him. This match had a great first half, a dreadful second. The screw job was funny by Mr. Perfect, turning heel again where he belongs. Thing is when you're such a good heel, you get babyface chance, and that's why they turn good heels faces, and they shouldn't. Randy Orton, 2004. you know, so it doesn't work that way. The reason they're cheered is because of their great heel work. Keep them heel. Like The Rock in 98, he was such a good heel that they had to turn him face. But luckily, in The Rock's case, he kept the same attitude. Most people don't keep the same attitude when they turn them face. They make them... So anyways, I give the Luger-Yokozuna match a 1.75 stars. Earthquake versus Adam Bomb. Basically, the Fink gets an awful reaction when he talks about his haircut, and Earthquake picks up the win in 32 seconds. Dud. Shawn Michaels versus Razor Ramon in a ladder match for the IC title, the first ladder match at WrestleMania. They both sort of had IC titles here, and this would be the undisputed IC title match. This match, as I said, they went overtime, but they didn't go that long. I mean, can you consider that they only had 18 minutes and 47 seconds for a ladder match? That's not bad. This match put everyone on the map, including Shawn. It was one of the best ever, and Razor Ramon. New York City was behind him, big time. Michaels bumped with the ladder like unlike anything anyone had seen, but to this point, anything to do with the ladder was just huge, because this is back in the day when power slams were looked as a big deal. Like when someone scoops somebody up on the canvas and slams them, those are like big moves. So when you bring a ladder into it, mixed with Michael's bumping and Razor Ramon's offense, it's classic material, and you really need to appreciate. You can't you can't put this up against Benoit Jericho from the 2001 Royal Rumble because it's so different. Those guys are so fast paced, and they learned from this match. This match innovated. This match inspired. This match was the reason there is ladder matches, TLC matches today. And it's 4 stars and 3/4, but I have no problem with anyone calling it 5 stars. Razor Ramon won the IC title at 1847. Classic. Next, we got the final match, Bret Hart versus Yokozuna. Yokozuna beat Luger earlier in the night, and Roddy Piper is now the referee. Hot Rod seems like he's always Bret Hart's referee. Nonetheless, he faces Yokozuna for the 2nd straight year, does Bret. This was a match that was better than WrestleMania 9. He defeated Yokozuna at 10:38 to become the new WWF champion for a 2nd time. This one felt like the big one, though, for Bret. This one felt like the biggest win because the other match in Saskatoon, that wasn't really seen by a lot of people. This was pay-per-view. This was WrestleMania 10. This was Madison Square Garden. Bright lights, big cities. You know what I mean? Not only did Bret limp with the title, which was awesome, such a good seller, he sold the leg earlier in the night with Owen, and he kept on selling the leg with Yokozuna in the whole match. And the locker room came out and hoisted Bret on the shoulders. You are now the man. Then Owen Hart came out at the end. First of all, this match was 2 stars and 1/4. But then Owen came out and shook his head at Bret on the shoulders of all the faces from WWF. I rate this WrestleMania with the 2 all-time classics a 7.5 out of 10. I could have rated it 8 out of 10, but 7.5 seems fair. Some decent stuff like the Savage Falls Count Anywhere match, the 2 title matches, the first half of the first title match, the ladder match, Bret Owen opener. Overall, 7.5 out of 10. For WrestleMania 10. Join us for WrestleMania 11. I'm not sure how good that's going to do. So stay tuned for that. Thanks, like and subscribe and comment. I like to see people in the comment sections talk about what their favorite part of WrestleMania was. I'm Brett Mix. I just told you my feelings, and I'm out. Thanks for watching.